Hi, everyone. Today, let's talk about Salesforce earnings. Then we'll talk economic calendar just for a moment. And then we'll go over the charts, which were pretty ridiculous here today. And then we'll go over my results for the day and my positions and thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open, as well as Sundays. So make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So Salesforce did extremely well. They jumped 16% on better than expected earnings and forecast. They announced layoffs, which tend to be pretty positive in today's market. That means they're looking to be more profitable. And they are also expanding their share buyback program. So basically, everything is going well for Salesforce. You can see EPS, $1.68 per share compared to $1.36. Revenue, $8.38 billion compared to just under $8 billion expected. Revenue grew by 14%. Company lost only $98 million or 10 cents per share compared with the $28 million expected, $28 million from a year ago. Looking at jobs, they expect to cut about 10% of their workforce, representing about 7,000 people. They say this restructuring led to $828 million in costs during this quarter, but ultimately should be more profitable for the company going forward. It is worth noting that we've seen quite a few activist investors talking about Salesforce. Salesforce tends to spend its money in some pretty weird ways. My understanding is that Matthew McConaughey is an advisor to this company and he's being paid a large amount of money. I'm not sure what he knows about business or specifically Salesforce, but it's one of the questionable decisions that the CEO is making. And that's leading to activist investors like Elliott Management and Starboard Value coming in to try to fix this company and make it a little bit more profitable and not spending its money in quite as stupid of ways, in my opinion. Otherwise, looking at margins, still doing well, 29.2%. And they're trying to keep a 25% margin here through 2026. It's kind of interesting that they're doing so well, but activist investors are still coming in saying that they should be doing better. They've really beat on every expectation and continue to improve their guidance here. They say earnings per share guidance for the full fiscal year is $7.12 and revenue around $34 billion. And this is above the expectation of $5.84 for the full year and about $500 million more in expected revenue. So like I said, they're beating on all metrics, but activist investors are still coming in, potentially thinking that they could be better. Moving over to the economic calendar just for a moment, I want to highlight that initial jobless claims continues to be lower than expectations. Jobs is obviously one of the biggest indicators of a potential recession, and we're just not seeing those numbers come in yet. U.S. productivity is down versus expectations here, though. You can see 1.7 versus 2.5, which was down from the previous at 3%. And then you have U.S. labor costs continuing to go up, definitely not what you want to see in terms of inflation. And then remember, tomorrow we have services PMI. Services have been a pretty hot topic here, specifically on the wage and inflation side. So these might have a little bit of weight early in tomorrow's session, but otherwise nothing major tomorrow. Moving over to the charts here on the S&P 500 on the hour and 4 hour. What a day. So looking at these last 4 candles in the day, you can see huge push. We went from around 393 all the way up to 398.50 at one point. And then we did sell off a little bit right at the end of the session, but extremely powerful move higher here on the SPY. You can see we did finish up that divergence that we had from the previous low. We had oversold conditions multiple times here, and then we touched that level in terms of RSI one more time and then bolted higher. You can see we also touched that 392.50 level that we were watching. We thought we might overshoot this trend line just for a moment, maybe even hit this lower trend line just for a moment. Didn't quite touch that second lower trend, but we did overthrow the first, hit the second, and then bounced extremely strong, basically throughout the session. We're at resistance once again here at the end of day. Looking at the 4-hour chart, you can see we're at that trend line that we've been watching for quite a while. It's been resistance throughout these last several days. But it is worth noting, you can see some decent volume here yesterday and today in terms of buying, quite a bit here on the volume profile as well. So we're looking to see whether we're going to break above this resistance at 398, 398.30 or so. If we do break that level, then we're looking into that 401, 402 zone. And in terms of volume here on the 4-hour chart, you can see tons and tons of volume were done in this zone right where we are right now. If we can get past 400, then you're going to be looking for about 406. back at this previous low in the middle of the double top that we had. And that's really what we need to be looking for today. Everything obviously was super bullish on the day, but like I said before, we're at resistance, so we need to see that 398.30 break, and then we can start looking for some higher prices. Moving over to the NASDAQ on the 15-minute and the 1-hour chart, you can see we had that initial bottom early in the session after gapping down, solidified a higher low here, and then it was basically off to the races. We had a decent consolidation here from about 290 to 290.50 in this zone before we took out those highs and rocketed higher, significantly so, touching all the way up to 294.40 at one point. Again, selling off into the end of the session a little bit. You can see we took out that same trend line that we were talking about on the SPY. And then I had a little bit higher trend line that we touched and then ended up rejecting and finishing just below that level. That'll be one of the ones I'm watching tomorrow, sitting right at 293.50. Want to see a big push above that and a hold and then a continuation. Probably looking at around 295.80 as my next price target. That's the upper bound of this previous trend that we were in. Looking at the volume profile, you can see just how much volume was done in this zone. So you have a ton down here at about 291, quite a bit more here at 294, and then not nearly as much here to the upside in comparison until you get all the way up to around 304, 305. So if we do break out of this zone and then we push through this area of lower volume, you have to be looking for a retrace up to that 304 zone. Obviously looks very bullish going into tomorrow's session. We did get overbought conditions here on the 15-minute, but nowhere near overbought here on the hourly, so you would expect another push tomorrow. Probably finish off a little bit of bearish momentum, maybe retest the 200 SMA here on the 15-minute chart, pulling back to around 292.50, 292.70. Back in this zone that we were watching previously, retest the lows of that zone and then get the continuation. That's really what I'm looking for tomorrow. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow here on the 4-hour, you can see they both looked quite strong. Similarly, you have lots of consolidation in this zone on the Russell. We've been here for a while, so it's no big surprise that you have a ton of volume in here. If we do break out of this zone, then you're looking up to about 193, 194 back in this previous consolidation area. We're right at resistance here at this previous dip level. You would like to see it get above there and close. 189 to get a close above that level would be strong. We've struggled with that level multiple times and we've been watching it for a while here. You can see big wick rejection, big confirmation candle. Like to see a close above 189 and then look to that 193 level for tomorrow's session. Momentum is bullish, RSI is bullish. It's interesting here, not a ton of volume on today's candles. More volume was done here on Wednesday's candle, which actually was a fairly bullish candle if you look at it. Otherwise, looking at the Dow here, similar thesis, ton of volume down here, ton of volume up here, actually much more volume based on this consolidation up here. And that's where you would really be expecting to get to if you did see a push higher. Certainly some resistance in this 334, 335 zone with all these EMAs sitting up here. But really, you should push through here fairly easily with how little volume was done in that zone. And then previous consolidation area, that's what I would be looking for. And just like all the other charts right now, everything is super bullish. Bullish momentum, bullish RSI, bullish volume, bigger volume than yesterday, which is what you'd like to see if you're going to stay bullish. And we should look for more upside here on the Dow tomorrow. Moving over here to Tesla and Apple on the hourly charts, you can see we had a huge break below that 146 level that we'd been watching. We actually got very close to that second take profit. We think we were watching 142. We got all the way down to 143.50 or so. So we came up a little bit short on that down move, but you can see we found support on this previous downtrend. Didn't actually touch it here, so might need to adjust the trend line a little bit, but we had a strong push off it, as you would expect. We did not close above 146, which is not what you want to see, but we did have a ton of volume here at the end of day. Not a very bullish candle with that high volume, so not great, not necessarily what you would want to see. But overall, pretty impulsive day, did fill the gaps, and it looked at least fairly strong here on Apple. Looking at the volume profile, you can see a decent amount done here at the trend line. Not a lot through here, so you would expect to get up into this 148, 149 level tomorrow if we do get the trend continuation off of the bounce. and then looking at 152 as that next upper level of resistance. Of course, there will be some here at 149.50. That's the low from this kind of double top pattern, but you can see tons of volume done at 152, and you would want to see it push back into that zone and get rejection if you are going to trade bearishly. But right now, you do have to respect the amount of up move that we had here today, potentially looking like a move higher is possible tomorrow. Otherwise, Tesla, big gap down. People didn't like Tesla Investor Day, but it is worth noting that it did find some bullish momentum in the mid-session. Quite a bit of volume here compared to previous days. And if you zoom out, obviously, most of the volume is going to be in this previous consolidation zone. Lots of buying happening around that 194 zone that we've been watching. But zooming in here, you can see the volume down at this level was fairly comparable with these previous days in this higher zone. Looking for whether we're going to get a rejection here at 193.50. If we reject back down to the previous lows around 186. If we get above that zone, then you should be looking for a pushback up around 199 to 200. That's what I would be looking for. Otherwise, RSI, momentum both look strong here at the end of the day. Moving over to transports, similar thesis. We broke out here today, took out the high from Monday. After the gap lowered, testing that 55 EMA here on the hourly. Really strong momentum here in the last two candles of the day, getting all the way up to that previous consolidation zone at 236.50. You can see that's right in this area where we had quite a bit of volume done. We got stuck at that level, and then right up here at 237, maybe 238 in this zone. There might be a little bit of resistance as well at this previous high. So keep an eye on that. Definitely looks like we're going to get a push up to 283. And it's good to see that transports are confirming the move higher. 4-hour RSI looks bullish. 4-hour momentum looks bullish. And in this tighter time frame, you can see most of the volume was done back at this previous level. Makes sense why we had the gap up, held the gap, and now we're pushing higher. Looks very strong into tomorrow's session. Moving over to consumer staples versus discretionary. Staples did look a little bit stronger here. Really strong candles at the end of day. Got back into this range just for a moment and then got rejection at the end of day. Gap down from the last 4-hour candle about 50 cents here after hours, which is definitely not what you would want to see if you're bullish on staples. RSI did get above the SMA here. Momentum moving in the bullish direction. Similarly, on discretionary, RSI right at the SMA, you would want to see it break. Momentum looking slightly bullish as well. You don't have any kind of divergence yet. This most recent low was the lowest low, and we did not quite fill the gap here on discretionary, so discretionary did look a little bit weaker, and we basically stopped right at this first higher volume area. If we can get above 144, then you're looking to 145, 146 as your next area of consolidation. That's really what you would like to see. So we would like to see discretionary pushing higher, but it didn't quite happen that way today. Staples looked a little stronger, so that is a little bit concerning for tomorrow's session. Moving over to semiconductors here on the hour and 4-hour, you can see we're still in this channel here. We got below it just for a moment. In fact, the 4-hour chart didn't even close below the line. We got just above it at the close and then rallied basically throughout the day up to this upper level of resistance, tagged that level and then sold off. So still trending within this zone. We did get above this area of highest volume, which is at 239.50, 239.60. So that looks a little bit bullish. You definitely want to stay above that level if you are going to move higher. But you can see this next level of highest volume is where we hit resistance. We also have EMAs and SMAs sitting up here as resistance as well. If we're going to continue, you want to break out, retest, and then get a push back up to this 248 level or so, somewhere in this zone. You can see this level where we are right now was also the low going back to February 10th. So tested that level, found resistance, still holding the pattern. Looking for a breakout tomorrow, but if resistance holds, then you're looking for support back down here at around 236, 237 or so. Moving over to yields, not much to add here. They continue to go higher. 10-year yield went much higher, way higher than I thought it would. It's looking to close above 4% here today, level that we haven't been at in quite a while here. You can see we haven't been here since November of 22. We got into this zone about halfway through October last year and then back out of it halfway through November. At this point, you have to be looking for that next level around 4.25. That would be the most recent high above where we are right now. We also have some trends in here that put us pretty much in that same range, around 4.25 to 4.3. We are very overbought on RSI. That has mattered at least a little bit before. Last time we got this overbought, we did sell off for just a moment before continuing the trend higher. Momentum seems to be fading here at the end of day. 2-year yield similarly made a new high, retesting support here. If it does break down, we get down to maybe 4.84. That would be a little bit of reprieve for stocks. You can see multiple overbought readings. We do have a little bit of divergence here, actually, going back to the highs from 24 February. And then here again on 27 February, both of these RSI readings were higher than today's readings, despite higher price action. So we have higher highs and lower RSI, indicating that we could be seeing a little bit stronger reversal, maybe down to 4 3/4. That would be interesting. But of course, we cannot ignore these trends. They're both very bullish and very strong. Just looks like we're a little bit overextended on both of them going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the dollar here, we actually made a slightly higher high, which is interesting. We pretty much rallied throughout the session, making a kind of double top here on the hourly. So we had stocks going higher and the dollar going higher, which is generally not what you see. That is what we have here. And you can see we're at resistance on the 4-hour closing. We couldn't get above it through wicks through that level. You can see what that looked like on the hourly. And right now we're still below that level. Does look kind of weak. Momentum on the hourly looks weak and we're going lower. RSI looks like we're going lower as well. We have mixed signals, however. 4-hour chart says we're going higher. 4-hour RSI looks slightly bullish as well. So potentially shorter term retrace based on hourly indicators and then potentially finding support in this 104.60 level, maybe a little bit higher, 104.70 based on the 4-hour chart. And then we get a continuation if that 4-hour momentum stays green. Be watching this one fairly closely tomorrow. We're at a critical level. You would like to see it break down if you're bullish on equities, or a little bit of a breakout if you are bearish. Moving over to JNK on the hour and the 4-hour. Bullish momentum on the hourly chart and the 4-hour actually. Did get a slight step up here on the last candle of the day. RSI on the 4-hour, looking to see that cross above the SMA tomorrow. It stopped right at that level. The hourly RSI is above the SMA though, indicating some potential for bullish price action tomorrow. We're stuck in this area of high volume right now. We do break out. We should expect to probably get up to 91.50. We do have a level here at 91, which is fairly important. 91.50 seems to be a nice area of resistance based on this volume profile. So we do have a high. So we do have a low, slightly higher low here now. And if this continues here, then this does look fairly bullish in my opinion. Looking at the RSI on the 4-hour, you had a 29 read on this lowest candle here. And then on today's low, you had a 37. Of course, price action was slightly higher, so it's not a direct comparison, but does look like RSI could be moving higher tomorrow. It's good to see JNK moving up with equities. That usually confirms that the rally could continue. And right now, everything points in that same direction. Moving over to TLT, we haven't really been talking about this one that much recently. Pretty much been trending down for a while now, continues to trend down, and it gapped down a little bit here today. Couldn't get anywhere near filling the gaps. Looks quite weak in comparison. Makes sense with the 10-year going significantly higher. And basically, this looks like it's going lower again tomorrow. Decent setup for a potential island reversal. So we have the island now. We'll see if we gap up tomorrow and see a little bit of a rally through. That would be interesting. But right now, everything is bearish. Look for that gap up. If we get it, then you can potentially trade this to the upside. Looking at that 102.50 level as your resistance. Decent resistance in here at about 101.25 as well. You can see on the shorter time, that's your area of highest volume as well. So looking for a push through that level. Then you have resistance here at 102.50 as well. And then you have lots of EMAs in this zone, generally between 102 and 106. Not a ton of volume in here though. Definitely interesting. Could push through that area fairly well if it did get in there. But of course, remember, this is a strong downtrend still, and there's nothing to doubt that quite yet. Moving over to the VIX here on the hour and the 4-hour, you can see we're still in this downward channel. We're testing resistance here, which is interesting. We do get a little bit of a bounce that could give equities a time to cool off from their most recent highs. Get into resistance here at around 2030, 2040, maybe all the way up to 2060. That's where you would expect to find some resistance at these previous moving averages. But right now, you would expect this downtrend to hold until it proves otherwise. Could certainly break down from here. Maybe we sling all the way down to 18. That would be a huge move. That would give equities a big shot to the upside. Almost oversold here on the hourly chart, not quite there yet on the 4-hour. Momentum on both charts is very weak, but like I said before, we are at support and we could certainly see some bounce from here. I was watching this trend line here today, and as soon as that broke, we had a big waterfall sell-off on the VIX, giving equities some room to the upside. We did basically hit my first price target of 1950. I think the low actually was about 1955, so just an inch short of where I thought we would be going. So first price target hit. Seems like we're going to get maybe a little bit of a rally and then a continuation back down to maybe 19 or 1850. Moving over to my results for the day, up about $400. Definitely love to see it. I traded extremely well today. I think I'm finally getting the hang of some of my indicators. I also have some indicators that I don't show on my TastyWorks platform. Maybe I'll do a special video to go over some of those new indicators that I use that are specific to TastyWorks. Otherwise, feel pretty confident on my trading. Was profitable on my day trading as well as my swing trade positions. I actually rolled my IWM position up to 187 put, which is already in a little bit of a profit, so good trade there. My 290 puts, held those throughout the session. Those expired worthless, got a nice little profit there. I sold some 291s early in the session, which ended up being a pretty decent profit. And then I rolled those up to 292 as the market continued to rally, which are already in a small profit. I think my goal here is to collect about $2 every single day in theta on my main account, and about 50 cents here on the IWM position in my Roth IRA. Like I said before, I am wheeling here in my IRA. We'll see how that works out. But right now it's doing fairly well. We're actually almost break even back now on my Roth IRA, so that's good to see. In terms of positioning, you can see everything is bullish. I am day trading, so this will not be all of my positions. I do trade quite a lot here. You can see my day trades were at 33 here today. And generally for tomorrow, my thesis is bullish. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of my charts or where you think the market is going tomorrow. Let me know if you'd like to see my other indicators, any specific videos on specific charts. Otherwise, definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.